Okay, interesting interview.
This is our interview with AAWKS. I was so glad to meet Kris and Randylin. I am so in love with this album. I still got to email them about a t-shirt. But however, really connected with these two. I was glad to really get a deeper dive on this music and even share Orange Cat energy.
Take it away.
Well, this is great. I'm so excited. This is definitely my third album that has made the top 10 for this year. So you're my number three find. And they're all doomy in this side.
That's true.
Shocking.
Yeah.
So it was
Thank
like
you.
Year of the Cobra, and 16 so far. So
Oh, nice.
who was the main architect kind of behind the sound? Was there one band member that kind of had the cosmic vision, or was it like a collective brain meld from day one?
Definitely this guy over here. I like it.
Okay.
My finger goes
Yeah,
disappearing.
it's kind of like all kind of comes out of my brain.
Yeah. The everybody kind of adds their little spice at the end for seasoning, but the real nuts and bolts, what really puts it all together is his brain over here.
It's always good to have an architect with a vision.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I've always had it. I just think I started ADHD meds about, I don't know, 10 years ago, and that kind of helped me finally start finishing things.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good to hear.
This
Yeah.
one should probably
Yeah.
be on some meds.
Yeah, I've been writing for like 30 years, and then, I just never finished anything. So finally I was like, hey, time to actually finish something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So oh, sounds like an angry bird call, or maybe a cosmic cousin to a hawk. Where did the name come from, and what meaning did it hold for the band? Was it just a cool sound, or is there a deeper influence behind it?
Kind of both. Yeah, I like the sound of it for sure. Like,
Yeah.
and our guitarist Paraiso, he always talks about how it sounds like the animal, right? It's like a
Yeah.
big lumbering animal, but there's a couple different meanings, and then there's a bit of a like a mysterious thing that I'm not really ready to reveal yet about it.
Okay.
But also, when I was growing up, an auk was like an outsider or someone,
Oh,
someone who wasn't accepted in the crowd. And the Ox used to kind of hang out on their own in the smoke. We had smoking sections back when I was in high school. So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. We remember that. We're old enough to remember that too.
yeah.
do you ever have mad autocorrect issues with the name? Because my phone was like not having it.
Yeah, oftentimes people will put two W's instead of two A's. And it's funny because I'd wanted to call the band AAWKS, but there's already one of those. So I added an extra A. Um, and it kind of worked out in our favor, like a happy accident, because it always shows up first on the
First.
list alphabetically,
Right.
and
That's
it
great.
was unintentional, but
Yeah.
it does seem to have
Yeah.
helped us out in some respects.
And it seems
What's
to be one
that?
of those things, like you said, with the sounding and stuff. Once a person starts to kind of play with it on their tongue, they're like ox, ox, ox. And then it's kind of stuck with that, where people now then have it in their brain and it kind of earworms themselves and they're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I know that name. So yeah, it's
That's
been kind
cool.
of fun playing with it.
That could be your encore with everybody going, oh, 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 that would be
Yeah.
great.
I
Yeah.
also wanted a name that was like could be any genre of music, because we kind of started out as like a psyche garage band, and then we've done the more doomy thing, and even both albums are different enough that had we called ourselves like something with a wizard or a bong or whatever in it, that I feel like we would have pigeonholed ourselves a bit. So
Right. Right. No, understood. Yeah.
Something with tomb and mold and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So obviously you guys are channeling a lot of 70s energy. What are some of your favorite um I guess apparel from that era? Are there
bell
are any,
bottoms,
yeah,
sprit vest, platform
are any of
boots.
you out, combing the boutiques looking
Bonus
for
points if you actually still have it.
That's I'm the boutique guy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love I've been obsessed with 70s fashion, like 60s, 70s fashion since I was
Mhm.
in high school. So many, many, many moons ago. I actually went to one of my prom. I went to 3 proms. I'm that dork that went to 3 proms because in our province of Ontario, back when I was in high school, we had a grade 13. So you'd actually graduate high school in grade 12 and then come back and do your OACs, they were called, and that prepared you for university.
Okay.
And so I graduated, went to that prom, and then I went to my grade 13. Then I was dating a girl who was a year younger than me, and I went to her prom, and I went to her prom like in platform shoes, like
Oh wow.
like the Elton John style ones with like
Right, right.
checkered bell bottoms and like the long hair and like the whole, butterfly collar and all that stuff. So,
That's great.
I do
Yeah.
have to admittedly say, I think all of the band at some point or another were rummaging some sort of thrift store and finding some piece that just speaks to us. There's
Yeah.
always bits and pieces. Whenever our other guitarist, Pariso, comes on out, I'm always curious of what little baubles and rings or bracelets he's going to find next. Every family trip he takes, he comes back with something that I'm pretty certain he might have had to explain to his children, like, why do you have that? So it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. And then same with our grind pup. He's always got some nice little dangles of this and that, and he's got a lot of fantastical things that he likes to wear. Look at, they have an orange cat.
Oh,
oh
he
yeah.
loves to come for interviews. This is
I love it.
Lucius. I don't know what his deal is.
He won't come when we're just doing the show. There has to be a conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
We are orange
Hmm.
cat people. We've had 3 orange cats
Yeah.
over the
Oh,
years.
cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
they're all bad but lovable.
Yes.
Oh yeah. They all share one brain cell, right? That's the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw Church of Misery. I don't know if you know them.
Oh
I
yeah.
saw them at MDF about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And it was like Sabbath 1979, their outfits. I don't know how they pulled it off, but
Oh
they
yeah.
probably
No,
had
we're huge
everything custom
fans.
made, but I was like, oh my God, it's an Asian Black Sabbath. Wow. So
It's funny that the song on our album, "Cursed Soul," is me trying to write a Church of Misery song. There you go.
I love it.
No, I'm a pretty big fan of those guys. I love those
Oh yeah,
guys,
yeah.
and she's a big fan of serial killer stuff. So
No,
I kind
we are
of,
too. Yeah, we're huge ID channel people, so
Yeah.
we can
and like
identify.
all their stuff's about serial killers. Right? I don't know if you knew that, but all their songs are about serial killer.
When we watch those shows, I'm always like, how did like he would just leave and be gone all night and come back with blood on his shoes, and his wife was like, breakfast is ready,
Oh yeah.
like never put it together.
Weird. He
Mhm.
never usually has blood on his shoes in the morning.
Yeah.
I guess it was a bloody nose.
And they're just so nonchalant about it. Where I thought it was a little weird, but yeah, it's a lot weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you guys had some early lineup changes, was there a specific moment, maybe during a jam or a live show or a recording session, when everything just clicked and you knew that this was the lineup?
Well, I think so. Randy, Bob, and I are the core, and then we've had several different bass players. I would like to think this is the lineup, though we have recently taken on another member who he fills in when the other guys can't do it. So Randy and I've done 2-piece shows before, where I'll just I'll play through several different amps at once.
Oh wow.
We played as a 3-piece, we played as a 4-piece. We've actually played as a 5-piece with our new kid
Yeah.
filling in on one song.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So really, like I've always embraced the like collective, ethos of, hey, whoever's around can contribute. Like jump in. We're recording a song Saturday, and we have the core 4 of us, and then we have 2 guest guitarists coming to play on it too. So I love community and I love inclusiveness, and I love being part of the scene. Like that's the best.
I will say for this album and its recording, when Grime Pup Ryan joined the band, within the first couple of practices, he kind of let us in on his like guttural vocals and those abilities that we
Mhm.
didn't quite know he had. And so that kind of shaped this album, like I said, that extra seasoning that happened, because these
Mhm.
songs were already, let's say 90 to 95% formed, but once he kind of showed us that extra little skill set he honed in, we were like, wow, okay, this really took that album and made it what it turned out to be. And that dynamic has really translated a lot in our crowds and stuff. They're like, the addition of him and his growls and his screams really add a whole new dynamic to it. So it was really cool to have him join us for this past year and a half.
That's cool.
I kind of noticed listening to it, there were times when the line would start to surge and I'd be like, all right, here he comes. And then he'd go like a geyser. And then sometimes I would think, is it? And then he wouldn't. Is there any
Yeah.
rhyme or reason to when he goes off or?
So we recorded that album last May, and he was kind of still newish in the band at that time.
Yeah.
So the songs of hey, like they always do, we record them, and then like 2 years later, they're kind of different when we play them live because we're always like working on them and adjusting things. So he actually does different vocal stuff now than the album even. So at the time, he was kind of new to the vocal parts. So I think that's why, like our songs are kind of always more. I wish we could take 10 years to write each album, really, really hone them in,
Right.
but that's just not how it works, right?
And
Yeah.
yeah, he just got to take it and feel it. So when he was doing those vocals, and that was a very first for him of like recording down tracks like that. So it was a whole new experience for him. I remember him kind of almost giddy about it because he was just like, wow, because he could hear himself back, like his isolated
that's
vocal
cool.
of like, that's me. And it was kind of fun. It's almost like a bit of a Christmas unwrapping, right? Where he got to really
Yeah.
experience himself in that manner. So he really felt out those moments and just delivered what he felt was right in that scope.
That's cool.
Done really well because it's almost like at times like when you hear somebody snoring and it's the rhythm and you know they're gonna go off. Sometimes it's exactly like that. I'm like, here it comes.
Yeah. I love that you play with different lineups like at various live. It's very Hawkwind. It's very,
Oh
very
yeah,
Hawkwindy. You know what I mean? Like you need to
yeah,
find a guy now to play the ring modulator and like
totally, yeah,
crank it up and like make the guy back there throw up, like they used to do,
for sure. Yeah, I love ring modulator. It's funny too because like Hawkwind, we now have a female dancer that's going to be joining us for some shows. Um, so our bass player's wife is a dancer and performer. So she's done one show so far, but I'd like to incorporate more of her.
It's great.
Yeah.
Soon you'll have a drove of ladies painted silver.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You do like Castle Rat. They actually have a member that just comes on and spars with her. So you can do
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
worst sword
Yeah.
fighting ever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Skymaze philosophy. You describe the album as a paradox where nothing matters, but also everything completely and totally matters. Can you unpack that a little bit? It's wild.
Hmm. Good question. Well, I work in mental health. I work in psychiatry, and we're constantly talking about this kind of stuff at work. I'm trying to think of a good example of that paradox, but oftentimes, well, here's something. My daughter, my daughter is going to university in September, and she's put so much hard work into getting accepted and going to the course she wanted to go to, and like her whole world is kind of about that. And we've had all these discussions about how this is important to you and this is a big deal, but also like in 100 years no one will remember any of us. So what does it really matter? We don't know. I mean, what is life? Like what is reality? We don't know any of this stuff, right? It's all bizarre, and no one really knows what the fuck is going on for real,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you have moments in your day where you're just emotionally invested, and
Yep.
things are so heavily, like you
Yeah.
you feel them so intensely. And I think, I always do the deathbed test. Like on your deathbed, you'll look back and you'll think like, I was worried about, I don't know, paying the bills or whatever it was, but none of that will really matter. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
and that really kind of comes into like even the name of the album, On Through the Skymaze, was the idea that, in our moment, this is our most important, like I'll use the example of our music. We're putting this together, we're delivering this. It's so important, but we're on a rock in space and we're just hurling through this helical kind of movement, just going through that maze of space. And what does that really matter, right? It's everything and nothing all at once.
it's really, I guess it's really just kind of a way of saying like perspective is so important, you know.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a podcast about how scientists have predicted that eventually everything in existence will decay into nothingness. All molecules, everything will just evaporate into nothingness. And it kind of makes things matter less, but also make them more sacred in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love this. I love paradoxes. I love thinking about these kind of like different perspectives, different windows to look at. You know, you open a window and then you close it and it looks
Yeah.
different. It's the same scene, but you're looking at it through a different frame. You know, I love reframing things and different perspectives.
Awesome.
I'd have to make sure my daughter was in the right mood if I bust that stuff out because she'll go, stop with your hippie bullshit, Dad.
That's my daughter.
Yeah.
That's my daughter.
You got to test the waters, you know,
Yeah,
see what kind of
yeah.
mood we're in. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I work for a physician and we're ophthalmology, and there's something about dry eye patients and mental health. It's connected
Yeah.
somehow. We have
Yeah.
patients who wear tinfoil hats and other
Mhm.
credit cards are in tinfoil, and they don't want to come on Mondays because the building's been closed up all weekend and they need medicine to air out first. I'm like, okay.
The funny thing is,
The eyes are
There's-
actually like an externalization of your brain, right? They're connected to directly to your brain.
Yeah.
yeah. So that the tinfoil hat lady seemed like she was coming all the time. And it turned out later, Stace found out they're twins.
There's two of
And
them.
they both wear the tin.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
So
wow.
you get twice as much crazy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
There is I can't remember what the percentage is, but there's a higher percentage of twins having schizophrenia, you know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
statistically,
Okay.
right?
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
Now, we had one lady in who said, I have lice, but it's okay because I boiled all my clothes. She did not have lice. I can't make this up.
And as ridiculous as that is, she would tell me stuff like that, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, pass the salt. You know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and we hear it all the time. It's just, you know, every day. So
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it becomes normalized.
nothing is shocking anymore, you know.
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good
So
song.
speaking of wormholes, you know, because this record does feel like that journey through cosmic life and
Right.
space. So here's a trip. If Aux the band could go back and deliver one cryptic sentence to your younger selves, something to echo through time, what would you say to them? And would your younger self believe you?
Mm.
Definitely not. I was at too many bush parties drinking in my younger self. I would want to deliver a message of avoid dairy and see what happens, you know, see if I could help my younger self, but they would be having too much fun to even listen. Yeah, they're not listening to me. That was old me.
Yeah, for me, I don't know, man. Maybe like stop worrying about the little things so much. You know, I definitely was like an anxious teen, 20 something. And I find like the more decades I go through, the less I care about those things. So I don't know, I try to instill that. I don't know if I believe myself either.
Would you be like, do the mushrooms?
Well, I
The
did mushrooms since then. Like I think
Yeah, I wouldn't need any
cause-
motivation with that back at that age.
Yeah, I think that the acid in mushrooms caused a lot of the anxiety initially, actually, or like it made it amplified it
Yeah.
for sure. Not that
Yeah.
I would have not done them because I still love them, but
Yeah.
You ever have this, like you're on acid or mushroom or something, and you go to the restroom and you look and you're like, that's how they built the pyramids. Duh, so obvious.
Yeah.
And you come back and your friends are all like, dude, we already knew that, you know. And it's like, you try to explain that to someone who's never experimented with psychedelics, they'll never get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
So for that fuzzy kind of spacey distortion and weirdness, God, that one song sounds like it's a manhole cover flipping on the outro, like continuously. Sardonia.
Yeah,
But
right.
um,
Oh, yeah.
Here, Joya.
it
Yeah.
does. It does. It sounds like it's a manhole that's just flipping
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
top. But what kind of gear or pedals are your favorite for achieving all those fuzzed over tones and cosmic blips?
So Paraiso, this guy right here,
Yeah,
Okay.
there
Yeah.
is.
he uses a whole bunch of different pedals than I do, but I'm really a Big Muff circuit fan. So the Big Muff circuit, like I used to on our first album, I played a specific Big Muff. It was a New York City like 90s silver face that eventually crapped out of me. And then for this album, I got what's called a hoof. Uh, is it Electro Harmonics or
I think so.
no? I don't think it is. Damn it, I can't remember the name of the company that makes it, but they're really good. Good. It's a good company, but it's a hoof. It's sorry, it's a Big Muff circuit, but it has what's called a mids control. Are you guys gear people at all?
No, yeah.
So
I know what
Big
you're talking
Muffs
about. Yeah.
are scooped. They have like a scooped
Yeah.
EQ kind of thing, and then but this hoof has a mids control, so you can boost the mids. Gives you a bit more like it makes you sit in the band mix a bit nicer because the Big Muff you kind of disappear with, but this allows you to kind of be heard.
Yeah.
And then I use a boost pedal that is it's actually so it's a $19.99 off Sweetwater pedal called an SF300. And this is an emulation of the Electric Wizard pedal,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which in the 90s cost $50. And so it's a Boss FZ2, or Hyperfuzz 2, sorry, Hyperfuzz 2. So these things like 90 or sorry, in the 90s, $50. Nowadays, they're like 600 to a
Yeah.
grand. They've gone through the roof stupidly, but you can get the same circuit in a Behringer, shitty Behringer. Oh, it disappeared. A box for $19.99. And then I got this really cool wah pedal. It's an Ibanez Weeping Demon, it's called. And it's like the ugliest pedal. But it's funny because so I've been using this pedal for a while, and our bass player, this guy here, he's like, man, I really want one. So he got one for his board, and then the kid that fills in for us, Kris Jr., he also got one. So there's points when Paraiso's not playing with us that we have three of these weeping demons on stage at the same
Oh,
time.
cool. That's
And then
great,
yeah,
man.
like I like delays, and I got this really cool delay pedal that has like an expression kind of thing built into the pedal, so I can like do different kind of weird things on stage with it, especially for outros and stuff, or for like weird sections. I'll hit that and it'll do all sorts of craziness.
So that's neat. So you don't have to have a lot of backing tracks or anything. You can just do it.
No backing tracks
That's
ever.
awesome.
I do trigger samples, like old movie samples and stuff, like for mostly for song intros, and then a couple times in the middle of songs, but usually it's just old horror movies that we'll play a
Yeah.
sample.
I I was in bands all through the 90s, and it seemed like the gear then, like my Boss Metal Zone, they
Yeah.
I would never have expected a pedal to not last for 5 years in the 90s. It was like, and now
Yeah.
the stuff, it seems like the stuff they make now is just shit, like one year and
Yeah.
they're not, they're
Quality
not
control is not
durable
as
like
good.
they used to be
Yeah.
back then. Yeah.
100%, man. So it's funny because in the 90s, like we never had tuners. We always just like tuned to each other. Or if there was a piano, we would tune by ear to the piano.
I used to tune to the first chord of what's it? Oh yeah, oh, Holy War is the punishment too. Thank you, God.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
That was my, and then when people were talking about getting tuners, I was like, why do you need one? You just have this Megadeth CDs. All you need.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
You're like, it's science,
We
okay?
always just tune each other, so we were
Yeah,
always like way out like of what actually we should have been in. It's funny.
yeah. Mm.
Apparently, this is Lucius' question.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. We were interviewing this one band, and the guy was like from Sweden. He says, "Does the cat have a question?" I'm like, "Probably."
Sure. Yes.
It was only a
Lucian.
couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's
I like
great.
that name.
So celestial magic. Wow, that hits like a possession ritual. That preacher sample at the beginning made me crazy. I spent 35 minutes one night trying to figure it out. The Google machine thought it came from The Exorcist, but that wasn't right because it had the wrong priest name. And then I thought, maybe it's Jim Jones. But again, no match. Is it from something obscure or is it something you manipulated?
No, it's that's one we might get in trouble for actually. That's well, it is from like the 50s or 60s. Every sample I tried to get was at least 50 years old, so we could actually use it legally from what I understand the law to be. But it's a Dr. Oral Roberts. It's like a preacher from the States, and it's funny because we put out that song that was the first single on the album, And within like a week or so, one of his, I don't know, flock or like one of his followers in a weird way reached out to us or made a comment on one of our posts. And I was like, oh no, here we go. Like we're gonna get sued or something.
Oh,
But then
yeah.
there was nothing else
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that. But I just liked he was doing like a sermon about demons and you know, I
That's
thought it
cool.
fit perfectly with that track. So
Yeah, the first thing she did before she Googled, she came to me because she thought it was from Exorcist 3, and she knows that I know absolutely every
Oh,
line
it's so
from that
good.
movie. And I was like,
nice.
no, it's definitely not from Exorcist 3. It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
We've
Yeah.
seen we haven't seen all the Exorcists actually.
No.
We've seen the
There's
first
only
one.
two worth seeing, really, 1 and 3. All the others are terrible.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We watched,
But
I think, one of the newer ones recently.
Yeah, I can't remember. But yes.
It
yeah.
was like
Yeah, the one with the girls.
it was
Yes.
passable. Like we watched a movie last night called Psychomania.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you seen this one?
1972.
1972
I don't
is
think
like
so,
a
no.
British like biker in quotes movie.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Yeah.
kind of like psychedelic horror, a little bit horror, but one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but also amazing.
Couldn't stop watching.
Yeah.
I could totally relate to that. Yeah. I mean, for me, the height of that, the kitsch horror is The Wicker Man, the original English one. That
Right.
it's really hard to beat that one in terms of creepiness. And what about our Lord Jesus Christ? I love it.
Sometimes the worse they are, the better they are. Like
Well, and the way he resists that Italian chick in the first like half hour, you're like, oh, come on, dude, give me a break.
yes.
It's always
Anyway,
it's
yeah,
always like the more they quote the Bible, the more evil they are.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
goes hand in
yeah,
You
hand.
remember Cape Fear with De Niro?
yeah,
When
Mhm.
all he does is quote the Bible, and the more he does it, the worse it gets. It's like, yeah, okay, I get the idea. Yeah,
yeah,
That was a
yeah.
phenomenal movie. He was great in that movie.
he was great. Yeah,
Yeah, totally transformed himself into a psychopath.
yeah. And he had almost like a Bon Scott vibe in that movie. I don't know why. Like
Oh
when I
yeah.
watched it, I was like,
The
why is he
hair,
reminding me of Bon Scott? It's just
Now I
maybe
have
because he
to
was
watch
such
it
a
again to see
badass.
that.
kind of a shaggy haircut.
Yeah, he had almost the same hair, and he was so badass. I don't know. I just kept thinking Bon Scott. Yeah.
We did karaoke on the weekend and we did the Jack actually. That was a
Oh,
blast.
that's great. Did you do the
So,
dirty one? Not the clean one, right? You did.
no, we just whatever. Well, we kind of made it dirty.
I, I wasn't remembering the words by that point.
That's great. If you're gonna do karaoke, do the Jack. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the video for Celestial Magic, I think I have 52 questions about this.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
It looked like it was filmed at some arcane ritual site. Where was that shot? And how was it getting your drum kit out there?
It was amazingly, wonderfully easy because we have this beautiful friend who runs a rock quarry.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Okay.
we were given the okay to use the premises for our music video. And that backdrop was just absolutely killer. And yeah, so we spent an entire day out there and at another site filming the campfire scene in the evening. And it was just a wonderful amalgamation of community and people who they really put their skill sets in because we had another musician from another band. He's in Overcrook, right? Or Loose.
Who?
Jeff Burbage,
Oh,
the
Jeff, yeah.
filmographer.
hmm
He's
He's in Loose.
he's in Loose.
Drum. Great band. Actually.
Oh God, yeah. Anyways, he is by day like videographer and photographer for like real estate and stuff. So he had all the amazing toys to do all the overshots and it was really awesome. And then we had a lot of other musicians who all pitched in their times and we fed them and had some drinks and everybody donned capes and masks and some made their own and really kind of put out performances of being their own demons or kind of cult members or whatever.
That's
And it was
great.
really,
Yeah.
really fun to like almost like it felt like a family reunion of darkness. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much fun.
Totally. I totally
Um,
get that. Yeah.
You have a pretty close-knit scene up here, so it was cool that it didn't take much to reach out and have all those people show up because it's kind of like a real family like atmosphere up here.
Yeah, and the one little fun fact was that really large pentagram that they had built out there for the couple of scenes we did. Um, our property owner friend said, let's leave it there and see what the employees say on Monday.
Oh, jeez.
Without any without any
Just play
interaction.
dumb about it. Yeah.
So like people are
We
just
didn't know it was
driving in
here when we
Monday
got
morning.
here.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. God, that guy that owns the rock bar, can you imagine the Fred Flintstone jokes he must endure? Can you imagine?
Oh, he must. He must. But at the same time, yeah, we are so super grateful that we got to kind of take that vision that once again his brain pours
Yeah,
out into ideas and then kind of make it happen. And so yeah, it
that's
was
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it came
It
together
turned
so
out
well.
great. It turned out so great. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So who picked Ryan to be the victim, or did he willingly volunteer?
That was the only idea that he had. Is like, I want to get chased by a
Yeah.
demon. I go, okay, let's hook that up. So then that's actually Ryan chasing Ryan, because
Oh
that
my
the
God.
the demon is Ryan Hilton, who runs Black Throne Records. That's that guy, and Rune Mountain Doom Fest and about a million other businesses. That guy's
Amazing.
a hardworking fella.
The tarot card lady was impressive as well.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. Her name is Casey Cuff, and she is from a band called Novadol, as well as Heavy Petter, more punk band, and Angry Spells. And she, a few times hanging out, has done kind of tarot card readings. So when it came to the video time, immediately Kris was asking her, like, we need to do this. We need to have this kind of the seance-y reading kind of thing. And yeah, she pulled it out really well.
She also runs a tape label called Tarantula Tapes.
Yeah.
It's a really good label.
That's cool.
I like
Some
all that.
hardworking friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So was there any unexpected moments that ended up making the final cut? And was it tough to manage the fire? It reminded us of when we talked to Wake, because they had like a huge fire. It looked epic, but it probably wasn't as chill to manage behind the scenes.
It was okay. I was really worried about the synthetic fabrics of those capes that we kind of Temu'd, that they might have, with the slightest
It would
spark,
ignite.
gone up. But
And there was some very inebriated and chemically induced people there.
Yeah.
So like, I was worried more about like their judgment. Like, is someone going to try to jump in the fire? Or
Oh God.
if they go up in flames, like what's going to happen? We actually had a fire extinguisher
right there, yeah.
on scene just in case.
Nothing went out of hand, but there were those moments where, like you said, that made the final cut. There is a couple scenes of demons around the fire where they're iconic moments for me, where he's standing there, but at the same time we were literally having that moment, like, he's not going in the fire, is he? Like, we weren't 100% sure, but at the same time, when you saw the piece of video, when it clips it, you're like, ah, like that was perfect, like, so he was
Yeah.
kind of really holding that essence in of what he was feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, really well.
Um,
Really well.
I wanted to ask you, so obviously the occult's a big part of your music and the vibe of the band. For you guys, what's the creepiest thing that you've ever experienced personally in terms of the occult?
Well, definitely I haven't had too many. I kind of lived a very liberal, open life with my family. But definitely I've had some friends, and they've been part of like super religious culty churches and stuff where
Oh yeah.
you've had to sneak them out, and kind of when we got caught, I had to face the wrath, and I was told I was Satan and I was going to hell. And by that point, I kind of laughed at that kind of stuff, because I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know, like, I'm pretty well aware of this. Like, I don't need you
Yeah.
telling me. But wasn't creepy or scary, but it was definitely, I felt a real care for that friend or those people, and wanting to get them out and like, look at all this other cool life out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've had a couple pretty creepy, unexplainable things happen. I'm actually a registered nurse. So when I first graduated way back when, I was doing home care nursing. I was working at a bar at night, and then I would go to, bed 2, 3 in the morning, sleep for 3, 4, 5 hours, and then like get up and work. And I would visit people in their homes. And there was one evening shift. I was working with this guy who was like in his 90s, and he was cognitively quite sharp still with it. His wife was still alive too. She was in bed passed out in the bedroom, and he was with me in the kitchen talking, and he's sitting in his wheelchair, and I was kind of leaning against his kitchen counter, and he was, like I said, super sharp, having a great conversation, and there was a glass of water on the counter, and and then just to give you some background, so his granddaughter lived next door, and she said that there was always kind of weird stuff. He was into some weird kind of, occulty stuff himself. So, don't know if that's related to this or not, but we're sitting there and this glass of water sitting on the counter. We're in the middle of conversation and it moved like 3 feet. It like moved right
Oh
across
my.
the
Oh
counter.
my. Yeah.
And it was weird because I didn't freak out. It was just like, that was weird. And I looked at him and I said, like, did you just see that? Like, and he just looked at me and said, yeah, I saw it. And then we just kept talking like nothing happened. And then about 5 minutes later, it went and moved back
Oh
to the
my
original
gosh.
spot.
It's
And
crazy.
I was like, okay, I definitely saw it that time. And that was really bizarre. And yeah, I still don't know what that was all
Yeah.
about. So
Wow. We have this kid that lives in our neighborhood, we think, and he'll he's like a throwback. Like he's like kind of like we were in the 80s. Like he likes to dig in the dirt and look for frogs and ride his bike. And like I asked him if he had a cell phone and he just like gave me a really weird look. So we call him Ghost Boy because I think he doesn't actually exist.
It's
Like I'm
possible.
right.
afraid to investigate. This is going to be
Yeah.
like the Twilight Zone. They're going to be like, "Oh, he died in 1983, that boy."
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, when
Right
we
in that
talk to
spot.
him, the way he's like stuck in 1983, we call him Ghost Boy.
Yeah.
And when he starts to, I'll get a text from Stace just says, "Ghost Boy, help," because he won't leave her alone. I got to come to the door and be like, "Phone for you," like rescue her from Ghost
Oh,
Boy.
yeah.
And then we won't see him for like 2 weeks.
And
Oh
then
man.
Really
the place
weird.
I think he lives, I've seen like a mom and dad and a little girl, but I've never seen him around them. It's the weirdest
He
thing.
doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
I've had a few, but this other weird one in high school, we were partying in this house that everyone claimed was haunted. Family lived there and stuff, and we were partying at the friend's house, and we're all up in the bedroom, and there was a thunderstorm. So the power goes out and then came back on, and we had the old TV that you had to like manually turn the channels on, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're all watching. It was on in the background, and the um the channels started like turning. The thing
Oh my
didn't
God.
turn, the knob didn't turn, but the channels were like turning and
Flipping.
Changing.
flipping.
Oh my gosh.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Poltergeist
Yeah,
vibes.
poltergeist,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, very
Yeah.
poltergeist.
Yeah.
No.
You never know.
But fun fact, we do these trivia things, and came up in a trivia question that one of the things the real estate agent has to tell you is if the house is haunted.
Really
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, it's
Have to tell
it's
you that.
called like the Ghostbusters Act of 1989 or something. It's real. Like if you look it up,
For real.
I
You're not
so
joking.
yeah, if your plumbing is gonna fall apart tomorrow, that's fine. But if you're gonna have cold spots, they got to tell you.
That's funny. We live in our house is built in 1908, and I wanted it to have something like that, but so far I haven't heard or seen anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. And in that basement, I have stared off into like the darker corners sometimes, like, is there anything? And there's nothing. And you're like, yeah, but are you sure? Because like the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you don't want the Conjuring situation,
No.
You don't want that. Yeah. So.
You You just want a little friendly ghost who just dumps your shampoo out from time to time. And
Right.
you're like, oh, ghost,
Yeah. Nuisance.
Yeah.
Nuisance. Yeah.
So I love all your imagery and arcane symbols. I love the cloak figure. I clicked into your website and there was that wonderful goat. Where
Oh, yeah.
are the t-shirts? I was ready to throw my money into the cosmic void as soon as I saw that. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, we have like a pretty decent amount of merch, but we're kind of shitty at like the sending out of it or like advertising it online, but we should get better at that.
Yeah.
We have done that. We do have goat shirts. We
Yeah,
actually have
okay,
a
cool.
new goat shirt that's going to be coming out very soon. But yeah, if you're interested, let us know. We'll send you one.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to click everywhere to find it.
Yeah.
Oddly,
Very interesting. Yeah.
oddly
What
enough,
size do you take?
small. I'm like
Okay.
5'10".
Yeah.
But it's like 16, you're the Cobra, well, I have 2 goat shirts so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I saw 16. I'm like, God damn it, now I'm buying this. So
Yeah.
if you could create any piece of AAWKS merchandise, there's no budget limits on this idea. What would it be? Maybe a tarot deck, a ritual cloak, how about a glow-in-the-dark fuzzy poster that opens up to a portal?
Well, one of our jokes are that if we could have any sort of branding, we would need Ox Crocs.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
That'd be so great. So doomy and pentagrammy with all the little bits and bobs on it. But
Yeah.
we don't think Crocs would go for it. I don't know. What would you love if you could have anything like golden talismans or something?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I'm thinking like maybe,
Outfits.
yeah, like Ox. I like the idea of like Ox portals, you know?
A portal.
A portal, yeah.
What about
Or
like
just
an
spell
ox
portal.
belt buckle? Like one of those big belt buckles.
Yeah, but portal's way cooler.
A portal.
I mean, if you have a glow-in-the-dark poster that
Much
opens up
money.
to a portal, now how much would you pay?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Pay
How about like
ton
a
for-
fuzzy black light poster, like, that's very
my God.
like Spencer Gifts 1985 kind of
Yeah.
thing.
You guys ever
Yeah.
watch the Midnight Gospel? Have you seen this show, The Midnight Gospel? Oh, you got to watch it. It's a cartoon, but there's a portal. The whole thing is about the multiverse, and this guy he can travel to different, dimensions
Times. Yeah,
through
yeah.
this portal. But the portal is a giant vagina, and he has to stick his head into the vagina in order to go there.
Oh, that's hysterical. Yeah.
Like Stargate, but with vaginas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's worth watching.
So what in the world was that? The little tins that are like cover your cocks with ox?
Oh yeah. You go ahead.
Those are so wonderful. We had gotten to take part where the band Indian Handcrafts got to do a beer collab with Bone Up Brewing, which used to be in the Boston, Massachusetts area. They came on up and we got to meet the owners of the brewery. They were amazing people. They've since moved on from the brewery and they're in Philadelphia now. But the artist, the graphic artist, Liz, she had just put out this kind of general anybody want a condom sponsorship, and I'm all for weird and awkward and just kind of like eye-opening things. Like if I can
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
you off guard a little, that's my favorite. So it was so much fun. I messaged her, she said of course I knew you'd be in. And so One Condoms does this. I believe if you go on their website, it's either Art of One or Community, but once you click on that, it opens up to bands on stage. And so bands can partner with them. There's got to be 40, 50 bands on there now
That's
from
cool.
all over North America. And you get to design the outside of the tin. It comes with 2 condoms and a nice little information packet. And it's all about promoting safe play. You guys got to do your things, have a good time. But the bands get to give them out for free. So they give them to
That's
us,
awesome.
Oh,
we
that's
give
really
them out.
cool.
And it is a wonderful initiative in my mind to not only hand a 55-year-old stoner a tin of condoms, which he will immediately tell me he's going to put his weed in, but it's also fun to the 20-something and say, hey, play safe. And then they're like, oh my God, I need one for my buddy too. He's dating this chick. And you're like, hey, well, I didn't ask, but that's cool. I'm happy to hear. I'm all for that. So I'm a
Oh,
mom.
that's funny.
I love promoting, safe play, bands, collaborations, and just good fun.
It promotes free love. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Free love,
to get in
baby.
that train. I love that. So I think I said this wrong. Sarah Droya, is that right?
Kara Droya.
Kara Droya. I love that old movie snippet, Love and Hate Are Horns on the Same Goat. And again, I was trying to figure out what the heck movie or play that came from.
That's from an old Viking movie called
He was called
The
Viking.
Vikings, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and it's what's his name? Not Michael Douglas's dad, Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas movie.
Oh,
Ernest
wow.
Borgnine's in it. I think Tony Curtis is in it. There's a whole bunch of like old like A-list actors from that era. And again, like 50 plus years old, so it's like safe to use, any of it. And I was watching. It's kind of a shitty movie, but you gotta love those old shitty movies.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of quotable. There's a couple different ones. Actually, the end The end of Celestial Magic has a little quote from that one as well. But yeah, that one in particular, like loving
Oh, about
AW into
entering
the sea.
Valhalla.
And I was like, I'm using that.
Yeah, we knew that one immediately. Like we only had to hear it once. We're like, yep, there it
That's
goes.
right.
That's
I've
It's
gotten
awesome.
into
so
habit
it's
one.
so there's so much fear of being sued now. You know what I mean? Like you go back and listen to like I Hate God and Grief. They were like Breakfast Club, no problem. We'll just take that quote. You know, there
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
no lawyers back then, but now there's a million of them. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
everybody's like even like when we do stuff on this show, like we did a bit about renting things, and I was like, well, let's call the show Peace Sells, but who's renting? And I was like, wait a minute, am I going to get sued by Megadeth because they have a lot of money? You know, like just scared to death of being sued. You know, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
You
right,
guys
so
live in the
we're
land of being sued, right?
Yeah.
land of being sued. Yes, so.
Mhm.
never used to be
Like
such
remember that
a
band? Remember that band Yob from? I think they're
Oh
from
yeah.
Oregon.
They
Yeah,
were
I mean,
just
I'm sure they're still around. Mike Scheit.
yeah,
Like I
they're just
remember
in
when they
Toronto.
got sued over their name, and I was just like, and it like broke them, and it was just like the worst situation ever. Like, who's making any money on this? You know? Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely one of my favorite bands in
Yeah,
the genre. They got some
yeah,
like unbelievable stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, they were just in Toronto, like they were just like, an hour away from us, like on the weekend.
yeah.
uh,
Got sued over my name that has 3 letters. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know? It's like,
Our dog's crazy.
She's fine.
they
Sorry.
always no, they always got to act up. I got another cat over here who's currently
Oh,
attacking my ankle weights. I'm like, really, ankle weights?
Hey,
he hates the ankle weights. Like he really doesn't like them.
I'm gonna go to bed.
okay.
Might be some breaking into our house.
Yeah, you
She's a
never know.
rescue. So about if you take 24 hours like straight north shot of us, so we're already quite a ways north, but if you go 24 hours even further north, there's James Bay. And there's you can't even get to them by road. You got to fly in. There are like reservations up there.
Mhm.
And she's a rescue. Our dog's a rescue from way up there. So
Oh
she's a
wow.
little bit anxious. She's always on the hyper vigilant side, but
Yeah.
she's a sweetheart.
So with the Norse mythology and kind of that whole Welsh maze, so how did that kind of affect the lyrics and music?
I love all of that stuff. I love history. I love, different cultures and anything related to like weird, the weird, the unknown, like what's the term? Like the esoteric and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, right? I've been obsessed with that stuff since I was a kid, and I still am. I think I still equally am. Like when I was a kid, it was fascinating, Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all that stuff, and
Right. Right.
UFOs, and I still am equally as interested and intrigued. But I think okay there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, uh, I've been reading about labyrinths and mazes and thinking a lot about like journeys and passageways and all that kind of stuff and how they all relate. And I was reading about this guy, Dr. Richard Sapolsky, who was studying like was it apes or baboons or something in Africa, and he was doing this for like 12, 14 hours a day. And over the course of several months, I guess a lot of downtime and stuff was developing this theory about whether or not we have free will or don't have free will. And I was thinking a lot about, hey, is this all something that's set up that we're just playing out, or do we actually have the ability to make decisions? And in all my reading was reading about mazes and labyrinths. I didn't know a labyrinth was different than a maze until I was reading about it. But a labyrinth has no wrong turns, and a maze has several wrong turns.
Yeah.
So Caradroy is a Welsh labyrinth, and that song in particular is about getting trapped. In my mind, I made up a whole story about this pagan kind of ritual that was happening, like a summer solstice type of
Yeah.
scenario, and then these people go in and they get trapped in the labyrinth. Sorry. But all the songs kind of relate to like stuff that's going on in my life usually, and I just kind of mask it with like that stuff.
Fantastical
Yeah,
Yeah.
bits.
being trapped. Well, when
Yeah.
I'm at work, I feel like I'm in a labyrinth of sorts, or
Yeah.
maybe a maze sometimes.
Oh yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of always takes me back to the David Bowie movie Labyrinth. I always loved all
Oh,
that. That was the creepiest children's movie I think I've ever seen.
I think we made that comment. We rewatched it maybe 6 months ago or something,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not certain this was supposed to be for children.
Right.
Woo.
Bowie gets away with everything. Everything. He
Yeah.
wore a swastika. And people were like, well, that's art. It's Bowie.
Yeah.
I mean, who could get away with that? You know what I mean? Like, again, Labyrinth, same thing.
He had a
It's just,
certain charm, didn't he?
he sure
definitely
did.
did.
Yep. He
Yeah.
could get away with anything. Yep.
It's one more track specific. Wandering Supergiants, I think is the trippiest track on the album. It feels like the closest you can feel to being high without actually doing it. It's so trippy.
That's such a compliment for you guys.
How did you create all those slides up and down in that landscape? And were those actual NASA transmissions woven in there?
Those were like fighter jet samples. So fighter jet
cool.
pilot samples, sorry, from like
Cool.
a bunch of different ones that we found online. And some of them were like Russian, like, what's CB chatter and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. The cool thing about that track is Paraiso plays violin. So all the violin parts
Oh.
are actual him playing violin. And then
Oh,
we
nice.
added a bunch of synth layers in there as well, which was fun. I love playing
So cool.
synthesizers.
And
Yeah.
and that's definitely the exact explanation I wanted. That's the closest to getting high feel, because you're rocking out in a song, and there's times where, like, in life you're like, maybe you've had a couple, maybe you've ingested something, but you're going and doing your thing, and then all of a sudden it hits you, and there's this wash, and this, like, maybe you end up just staring at the stars for 20 minutes and you didn't know why, or maybe you kind of freeze staring at a cat licking himself and you can't place it. That's what that interlude, and like the way we drew it out on the digital format, was that real space time continuum where you don't know, was it a year, was it 3 minutes, we're not certain anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly how I felt about it, was that that's the closest to being high without actually being high, I feel.
Yeah, I was trying to emulate like the middle section of the long version of Pink Floyd's Echoes. I don't know if you know.
Oh, I
Floyd,
know that. I
but
love that song. I love
yeah,
it.
that whole middle section where it just kind of goes off into the weird whale noises
Yeah.
and stuff. Just wanted
Yeah.
to do our own
Metal
version of
is my favorite Pink Floyd album.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Such a
It
great
had
album.
me so mesmerized. I was running and I had my earbuds in, and it was like all this whooshing. And for a minute, I was on kind of a side road. I thought it was a car. I was like, ah.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is our orange
Oh, there
guy.
you go. See? We've got
Oh,
dueling
does it
orange
disappear?
cats.
Yeah,
Look at that.
he's disappearing on you.
He needed to make an appearance.
There you go.
Now,
Yeah.
what's his name?
Bill.
This is Billy.
Oh, Billy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Billy's the man.
Yeah, it's all orange cat energy tonight for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That reminds me, I went to one of the early Lollapaloozas when Primus was headlining. And
One of the best shows ever. I was at the same
it
one.
was, oh, you were there. Okay. Yeah. I went to the one in Charlestown, West Virginia. And I remember it was the only time I ever felt like I was crowd surfing in slow motion. Like I remember when they were playing My Name is Mud, and it was just
Yeah.
one of the most trippy experiences of my life. But I saw things on stage that weren't there. And then the next day I was making comments to my friends, and they're like, Marchman, there weren't any fucking teddy bears on stage with Primus. What are you talking about? I saw things that were not there. Yeah,
That's
that was a
amazing.
really good time.
So that one in particular, the Alice in Chains set, I've been talking a lot about because I'm doing an Alice in Chains kind of cover set with some younger
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah.
And they were all born in like 05 or 03 or something like that,
Yeah.
right? So then I'm like, yeah, I was like, in my late teens when I got to see Alice in Chains in like 93.
Yeah.
And I said it was life-changing. Like it was such an unbelievable set. I can still remember how amazing it was. And so it's like it's kind of cool to be able to tell like the young
Yeah.
dudes that, right? And
So
have
that's
them go,
funny that was your takeaway, because my takeaway, I had seen them as the opener for Clash of the Titans 4 years earlier, and they were like
Okay.
deer in the headlights for that show. I just remember being like, wow, they really got their shit together. Good for them. Like I wasn't as much of a
Right.
fan. I was like, okay, and like when it was funny because like when they opened for, it was Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and they tacked on Alice in Chains at the last minute because I think somebody canceled or something.
Right.
It was the early shows were like Alice in Chains, they were still kind of trying to do that Guns N' Roses
Yep.
sleazy vibe. So
Yep.
yeah, that was my
Yeah,
takeaway.
that
So it's like, okay, so they figured it out. Good for them, Yeah.
facelift is so Guns N' Roses inspired for sure. The
You
first
really,
album.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know it from the later stuff, but if you're around from
No.
the early days, yeah, yeah. And I remember like being like, this band Tool, they're never going anywhere. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's into this shit.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not in the music business, right? So, Hmm.
Randylin, you're an absolute beast behind the kit. Tight, powerful, creative. Where in the world did you ever get a nickname like the Wrench?
No. Well, I don't have a lot of actual drumming experience. I only started playing at the age of 40. And so in that first kind of year, I was very, very green to say the least on playing. And let's add insult to injury. I'm also a very, very, very stern lefty drummer. So
Oh, wow.
when we went to play one show and it was stated that I was a lefty, this guy did not enjoy that fact and wouldn't let me touch his drums, which is totally fine. I was like, whatever. So we had to set up an entire other kit in front just for me to be the opener and play left-handed.
Oh, wow.
And this wonderful guy in the scene, he just says, "Wow, you really put a wrench into everything, don't you?" And he was fully joking. But after that, of course, Kris was like, "Yep, you're the wrench."
Yeah, she started learning drums, and within 6 months, we were doing like playing shows regularly. Like it was just like a crash course, boom, right on stage.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured there was a story behind Grime Pup too. Did that come with him or did you give that to him?
That came with him
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and we have all sorts of like variations of it.
But he feels a little grimy sometimes, I have to admit. But at the same time, he's such a sweet young gentleman for the most part. But then I always laugh because it's like he wants to be that dirty metalhead or something. And so he'll be like, "No, I'm not. I'm hard." And you're like, "No, you're not. You're a sweetheart. I just want to pinch your cheeks." Where is he? Right there. Pinch his cheeks.
Yeah, it's so death metalish, some of the burbles he throws forth,
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he and Paraiso and Grime Pup are always turning me on to new music. And I listen to a lot of music, but these guys, man, they got their ear to the ground and they're constantly like turning me on to new stuff. But both of them are big metalheads, but he's definitely a very, very big metalhead.
I think you just poked him in the eye.
Yeah.
All right, so we play a game on the show. It's normally it's 5 random questions with Stace, but since there's 2 of you, I want you both to pick 3 numbers between 1 and 100, which will correspond to random questions you will answer.
Ooh, okay. Do I get to go first?
Sure.
Okay,
Ladies
I'm
first.
going to take 14,
Okay.
16,
16,
and 20.
20. All right, Kris.
I'll take 4, 69 because
Yeah, of course. Of course.
and 68.
We have to keep changing 69, by the way, because everybody picks it. So
Yeah.
it's one of the catalysts for redoing the questions. Anyway, yeah.
Right.
And 7-7 and 6-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
Yeah.
randomized.
Yeah.
All right, 14. Do you enjoy getting dressed up, or is this a hard no?
I do enjoy getting dressed up, but I have constant anxiety about it all the time. I want so hard. I'm like, I'm gonna look like a girl. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make up. And then especially when it comes to shows, by the time I'm carrying the gear and setting up the drums and doing the sound check, I'm like, like I'm in the back. Nobody can see me.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Your fishnets look great in that video. I was thinking we were at some festival and back then we were still kind of new at things and we were trying to do like at the festival interviews, which ended up being a horrible idea because we had to run everything down from the car. It was like computer, mic, table,
Yeah.
chairs, and we're running with them and they're getting caught in my fishnets. I'm like, hold up.
It was horrible.
Yeah, wait. That was not a good idea. I don't know why we thought that was a good idea. Plus, you're missing stuff. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
And also, this is true. The bullet belt and the chain wallet do not get along, at least for me. The chain wants to get caught in the bullet belt. The bullet belt is like, fuck you, so I have to pick one or the other, at least for me. So
Big decisions you got to make
there's
sometimes.
decisions. Yeah. You would think they'd get along, but they're not the same family. They're not.
No.
No.
16. What's the worst pickup line you ever heard or used?
One of the ones that I remember vividly is just some guy asking me if I had any bruises and if it hurt when I fell from heaven.
Oh.
And I was
Oh,
like,
God. Oh,
I was like, I'm young and dumb, but I'm not that dumb. Like
wow. That's
it
really
was pretty
bad.
pathetic. But no, most times though, if you're cheesy and kind of dad jokey, I think it's actually endearing, but that one was lame.
That is
Don't
awful.
do that. Don't
That
do
is
no
awful. That
to the
is
people.
really bad.
That is
Yeah.
really bad. Right, and you picked 20. What is your most unpopular food opinion?
Food opinion?
Yeah.
Like something you like that maybe other people think is
Or something that you
weird,
dislike that other people love.
or
Yeah.
or you hate something everyone loves.
Well, we have this weird thing where we love all sorts of flavors of mustard. And I didn't realize that there is a population out there in the world that absolutely detests mustard. And it blows my mind because I feel like it's a perfect condiment. You can have hot mustards and sweet mustards and so many good mustards. And then even one of our dearest friends is like, do not put mustard anywhere in my vicinity. And I was like,
Wow.
what is happening right now? Like it was the weirdest thing, and I couldn't believe that because I'm still pretty sure mustard is perfect.
Yeah. We've often said that if you really want to get a gauge for how extra someone is, watch how they order their Subway sandwich. Because it's a psychological profile right there. They'd be like, no, that tomato. No, I said that tomato,
Yeah.
and you just back away slowly, So
I used to always go to
It's a
this
German
this
special.
guy. It was called the Hot Dog, and he had all kinds of. I mean, he would always have these crazy specials like buffalo sausage with cherry compote, or he would have Old Bay sausage with crab dip. But whatever his special was, I always bought it because it was fantastic.
I love
They
that
all
hoot.
sound great.
That
you
would be
just
yours.
described, Yeah. I love all that
I'm
stuff.
sorry I missed it because
But my
Yeah.
coworker just wanted a plain hot dog, and I said, but she wants no mustard on it, and he was so appalled. He's like, I'm giving you some on the side. Like he was
like what you're saying,
didn't want
like what
it.
you're saying, right?
Yeah, like you don't understand. You're mistaking here. You need this.
Yeah. Oh, if you're somebody who puts ketchup on a hot dog, we're not going to be friends anyway. So I mean, what's the point? I mean, yeah.
Chris is up. Number 4. What is the best Halloween costume you've ever seen?
Ever seen? Well, Randy's daughter, my stepdaughter, Nina, I don't know if this is a Halloween costume, but it's probably the
It
best
can be.
costume. We went to a Comic-Con once. I don't know if you guys have ever been to those before, but
Oh yeah.
there were some unbelievable costumes there. I remember this one that had animatronic wings or
Wow.
mechanical wings that were like the wingspan was probably 8 to 10 feet.
Yep.
But
Wow.
they were like phenomenal, very impressive, and they would go right down to nothing and then just like right up.
Wow.
Massive.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And they were some sort of anime character, some sort of, I think, angel of
Yeah, there's a lot of
type
anime.
things. So it was crazy awesome.
There was a
Wow.
whole like army of big giant Sailor Moon dudes as well that I thought were amazing. Like guys dressed as Sailor Moon.
They were the best, really.
Yeah, there's Comic-Con people. They must just spend like their whole lives on these costumes. I mean, everything they do is about
Yeah,
it.
they're
It's
heavy. You
cool.
can tell they're heavy into it.
Heavy into it. Yeah.
And they really like own it. I remember seeing one, and like we said, you're saying a Halloween costume, that any of these could be used at Halloween just as perfectly. But I remember this one woman even had business cards, and she was a professional Pokemon character, and
Wow.
she even had her eye teeth sharpened down.
Wow.
She
Wow.
had her teeth sharpened down for it. I was like, wow, like that's dedication to the
It's what
craft.
you're into.
That's
Yeah.
the
You went
commitment.
as Sonya from Mortal Kombat, and I
Okay.
was Sub-Zero, so
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. But our costumes were kind of lame compared to some of them, although
Well,
they were decent.
Mine was athletic wear. It was easy.
have to worry about that at all. I love it.
Yep.
All right. 69. I don't know why this printed out so big this time. Who is your favorite comedian?
I have a lot of them, but I have to say Louis C.K. is my goat. He's my guy. I'm a huge fan of that guy, despite all the masturbation weirdness and the I guess consensual weird, power plays and all that, whatever.
Yeah.
As far as comedy goes, I always say with Louis, like I he's my favorite comedian, but I wouldn't necessarily want him hanging out alone with my wife,
Mhm.
which is kind of how I like my
Oh, there
comedies.
he is.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
there's
wow.
Billy.
And I think as a notable second is he's named after him is good old Bill Burr.
Well, for
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But this
but
is
Yeah.
it wasn't your question there,
but this is Billy
Randy.
Purr. I had to put up Billy Purr.
I'm a big Bill Hicks fan.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah.
of Tool from back in the day.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Back in the day.
Yep. All right. 68. Would you go to space if commercial flights were available?
Man, after all that Katy Perry stuff, I don't know. Like canceled, man. Of course, I'd love to go to space, but it does seem a bit excessive. But also, I mean, if I could somehow equitably go to space, sure, I'd love to. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, count
Wouldn't
that.
anybody? Or do you guys not want to go to space?
I would love to.
Well, I've watched that Twilight Zone To Serve Man a lot of times,
Mm.
and I just can't
It
seem to
is.
get it out of my head. Yeah.
There's something a bit freaky about it, like imagine that's how you die, like drifting off into nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah. And like my chat GBT and we've spent so much time talking about like the HAL 9000 and the Terminator movies, and I love
Yeah.
talking about AI's eventual murder of the human race. Yeah.
Yes,
With
great, good.
with chat GBT, because
Yeah.
it's very paradoxical, and like he'll actually talk about like which AI murderers had the best sense of humor and stuff. Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
it's
We're on the brink of the what's that called again? Like when the AI becomes smarter than humans.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Judgment Day. Yeah,
Ray Kurzweil had that term. Have you seen that? Have you seen his documentary? The
What is it?
Transcendent Man? Called The Transcendent Man.
Okay.
So his
No,
dad
I haven't seen
died.
it. Mm-mm.
Oh, it's definitely, if you're into that stuff, it's
Yeah.
100% worth a
Oh,
watch. So
cool. Cool. Yeah.
his
I'll
dad
I'll
died,
check it
and
out.
then he's still alive. He's like a mathematician, super smart guy, but it's like the singularity. It's called the singularity. So the
Okay.
singularity is where that nexus point where AI becomes smarter than us, and then eventually starts making machines that zap us and turn us into like what they call gray goo or silicone, or
Right.
make more
Right.
machines. So yeah. Anyways, we're on the brink of that, the singularity. It's going to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
very
Yeah, I
soon.
heard we
It
had
figures out that we're the problem.
I heard we had
Well,
like these, capsules out there where the aliens could find it with like snippets of different music and soap operas and game shows. So I figure they'll just
Yeah.
look at that and be like, you know what? We're not going down there. Forget it. They're all nuts.
Yeah.
So we recently learned about that. My daughter applied to a program, like an honors program that required supplementary questions, because like everyone that applies to this program has the same average. So how do they weed them out? They
Right.
ask these separate questions. And one of the questions was on the Apollo 18 satellite that they sent out in the early 70s, I think, or late 70s. There was a plaque made, and on this plaque, it had a diagram description kind of man, where we are in the universe, and kind of some other elements that would allow any alien species that encountered it to figure out where we were and whatever. And Carl Sagan actually made it. So one of the questions was, what element would you add to that plaque?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
And why?
It sparked a lot of conversation. And then because I work in psychiatry, I work with like some smart people, and I was like firing off it to them to see what they would answer. Because like they're like those, super smart brainiac types that
Yeah.
just want to hear what their brains are doing, right? So yeah, there was some neat stuff discussed about that. But you're right. Like one of the answers was, why did we ever do that? Because if aliens are out there and find us, what if they come and they're not friendly? Like we're showing them where to come kill us, right?
We were talking about that on the last episode. We were saying if aliens come all the way here, I don't think it's to say hi.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
want something like all of our guinea pigs or something.
They're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
harvest us. Yeah, we're gonna be harvested.
Yeah, we're gonna be harvested. Yeah, but we also talked about like if all the aliens are like, if they have like a interconnected mind. Wonder if it's like a
Mhm.
group chat that you can't get out of, where it's just like, are we taking Uncle Harvey to the invasion? I took him last year. Boy, this uniform makes me look fat. You know, like maybe it's like where they can't get out of it. You know,
The hive mind, yeah, the Borg. You got
like
Star
the
Trek.
Borg, right? Like the
Borg,
Borg.
yeah. Yeah.
I love it. So it looks like you're set to pay the Rune Mountain Festival later. What's your go-to post uh, performance snack? Is it ritual stew, gas station burrito, or forbidden cheese?
Oh man. So I am always, it's like the first time playing every time for me. So I can never eat beforehand, but by the time I'm done, I am starving.
Yeah.
So anything that is open that late at night is my go-to. However, if I had a choice, I do have to admit that there's this amazing taco metal bar that we play at. And their tacos after playing a gig and just having a drink in this like 150-year-old building in the basement is absolutely fantastic.
That's great. That's
So
cool.
cheers to the Doors pub taco metal joint,
Yeah.
whatever the title is.
I could read down for that.
Yeah, sounds
I'm
great.
a bacon cheeseburger guy all the way.
Yeah.
Always hit Wendy's late night.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bacon cheeseburger. They're always open. So what can fans expect from your set list at this festival? And are you planning any covers in the mix?
We have one cover in the set, and because we're playing on the kind of heavier night, the Friday night, we're like three or four bands before Dove Throne, and like every band around us is pretty heavy, so we thought we'd kind of join the fold and play more of our heavy tunes, and then we're doing a Weed Eater cover called Monkey Junction.
Oh, well,
Oh, that's a
yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
And
Mm.
it's tight 30-minute sets. They're 2.5 day festival. There's 37 bands there internationally and Canadian. And so yeah, so we're gonna hammer it out real real hard and steady. There won't be a lot of I don't think the sample times will be as long as they could naturally be because we've had some fun with samples through our times.
Yeah, I've just recently reviewed a band called A Flock Named Murder, and all of their songs are like 14 to 18 minutes long. I'm like, what do
Oh
you do
my
at a
God.
festival with that? You got one and a half songs. There
Yeah.
you go.
And we have one track, well, the EP track, it's like 14 minutes or something like that.
16.
16 minutes. And we've only ever played it live once because we're like, we often get 30 to 45-minute sets. And it's like a good portion of our set. So
Yeah.
I'd rather play like, a lot of short, snappy songs.
Yep.
So, which band member is most likely to get lost in a venue looking for the bathroom?
Mm,
Oh, that's definitely gonna be Roberto, I think. But he's not actually lost. That's the thing about him. He's a mystery.
this guy.
He he will do stuff with such intention, but make it seem like he had no idea the whole time.
He got lost on, he disappeared from stage once. We were doing an encore and we're playing the song and I look over and his guitar is just leaning against his amp. And I'm like, and then
He left.
and I look over again and there he is. He's back now. And then he's like, oh, I
Oh
had to
my
piss so
God.
bad. Like, so he just left the fucking stage. Yeah, it's
It's
And
funny.
he'll always have some wild, crazy story or explanation. You'll be like, "What happened? Where'd you go?" And then half the time you'll just see this. He just goes, "Listen,
you can't imitate him. Like,
no, I don't do it justice, but it's a long pause. It's hang in your what?
so
What?
so we had someone from like our circle said, hey, we were talking the other day about like if we were to do a movie about the scene, this person would play this person and this actor would play that person.
What
And then
celebrities?
they
Yeah.
came to him and they're like, well, who would play Bob? And they're like, well, he would have to play himself. Like
Like
no
that's
one
the
could play
only
him. And
only
also he would be the star of the movie
Yeah.
because like
Right, right.
Bob's
That's
movie,
great. That's
you
great.
meet this guy, he's something else.
Mhm.
So, you've taken us to the Sky Maze. What else is on the horizon?
Hopefully, like I'm really in this kind of I don't know, like Sabbath influenced you know, where Sabbath influenced doom thing. Like there's a bunch of underground bands, Mephistopheles from Argentina. There's a band called Wicked Trip from down in kind of your area. Uh, there's a whole schwack of them, but they have like this kind of particular sound that I'm really into that I'm trying to kind of
Grave speaker.
Gray Speaker's great too, yeah. And it's hard to it's like, you know, it's not as psychedelic. It's maybe a bit more kind of evil doom Sabbath.
Yeah.
So the track we're recording on Saturday has that kind of feel, and then maybe a bit more sludge, like sludgy, like you know, I Hate God meets like Weed Eater meets Bongzilla meets like you
Yeah.
know all those kind of bands with this kind of evil occult Sabbath thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
went.
it's always an interesting dynamic to be in Chris's world because the themes and the brainwashes of ideas are always swirling. So you like you said, this one was on Through the Skymaze, and it's this mystical occulty kind of up and down of washes and journeys and experiments. Heavy on the cosmic, the first one was all a psychedelic trip, right? It was the before, the during, the after. It was a wild ride kind of in a boogie van full of smoke. And now I see this one is going to have even a darker tone so far, and I'm curious to see if there's still lights of rainbow somewhere that pop through, and like what kind of develops as we go, because he's always got like just a swirl of things happening.
The underground seems to be bulging at the seams in every sub genre.
I
Like
know,
if
and
you
it
like
is.
a
There's so many
certain
bands. Yeah.
thing, yeah, you can get really deep into it. And it's like there's bands that I'm huge fans of that have like no listeners and no followers, and they're amazing. And I'm like, you
Well,
should
the
be
PR,
huge.
they are. I talked to the PR people, and I would not want their job because like they can't handle like one minute they have like 12 bands and then they have 140 bands because they
Yeah,
cross pollinate, and it's like, all right,
yeah,
well, now
well,
this is my industrial project and now this is my
yeah,
that, and it, you know.
yeah,
And
we
they're
have that
always
going on.
shooting stuff at us, but we only do stuff we actually really
Yeah,
like. I can't.
Oh,
one
thank
thing
you.
I can't
about
do
when
it.
there were labels, the labels were kind of like a filter, kind of, you know, and now they're
Yeah.
gone. So there's like no filter. So it's just like the Wild West, you know,
Mhm.
and
I
there's
just
so
don't
many
remember there
bands.
being. I mean, I think
Yeah.
social media helps to expose too, right? Because like
For
growing
sure.
up, maybe there were that many bands, but also was from small town Ontario, so I didn't have access to that stuff growing up, and I lived on
Yeah.
a farm with no cable, so you know, it was hard for me to be integrated into that stuff. But um, I was in bands in the 90s and 2000s, and it didn't seem like there were so many. Like
Well,
I
home
thought
recording is so cheap now,
that's
and
what I
you know,
mean,
and you
yeah.
didn't have that back then. And there probably were that many bands, but not everybody could put their shit out. Like now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody's putting their stuff out, so it's like you're competing with so many projects. It's just so many. So that's why
What,
we
what
stick with comedy because it's less crowded.
conversation? I do find like you said, that kind of oversurgence of bands and underground and stuff. One of the big pieces though that I found interesting is there is not an arena show I want to go to. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
there is something about a little dive bar with
Yeah.
like one of the most talented bands that nobody's ever heard of. Like to me now, that's the place I want to be. I want to spend my time and my money on those people that they're there for the music. They're not there for the payout
Right.
because the payout's not there in those dirty little dive
Yeah.
bars.
I'm also not
I
spending
Yeah.
I
800 bucks to see Metallica or something
Yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
you know,
I
like
I agree with you. We went in this little dive bar, and this death metal band Atre Billis blew us out of the water. And I mean, they were like playing underneath, the pool table lights, and they were amazing. But then
Mhm.
we went I really wanted to see Knocked Loose, but it was at one of those big, and yeah, they had the mosh pit, but not where we were seated. I was like, that doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. Maybe at some point we'll get you down this neck of the woods.
That would be
Yeah.
great
Any
if we
East
could
Coast
figure out
dates, we'll be there. Yeah.
there's these ridiculous green card kind of things we have to
Work
pay,
visas.
work
Yeah.
visas, yeah, to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
down there. So uh if they ever get reasonable, then we would love to come down because
Yeah.
we've got lots of offers, just we can't afford like
Yeah. We
$4,000 or
hear that from a lot of
$5,000.
bands. A lot of European bands say the same thing. They're like, America's, um, work visa system is like the most difficult and the most expensive, and
It is.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, our Lords of the Trident were doing this big fest. I think it's this weekend in Madison, Wisconsin, and they had 2 bands booked from Europe that at the last minute couldn't get over here, and it cost them literally thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
You know,
Oh,
I
I
think they did
feel
it.
for them.
you
We're-
hear about the stories. Yeah,
Yeah, we're really lucky that for Rune Mountain Festival, which we've, been part in the execution of it all, that they were able to secure Acid Mammoth for the first time in North America. So we're
Oh,
really
cool.
excited to have them from Greece. And
Yeah.
I'm really thankful that we were able to, get for it being kind of the first full year. It's a stellar lineup of amazing bands. So I'm really excited for that. And like you said,
That's
to
great.
be able to have those European bands come over and get their first chance at our scenes and stuff, I'm excited for it.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but we heard the opposite way. It's easy to get to Japan. They clear it in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
I
But the
think
flight's
you guys,
expensive though.
like American bands coming north is pretty easy too. A lot of US bands come up here.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, and
definitely.
so the invitation to come up here is also open.
Yeah.
Guys,
Okay.
everyone
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
That's
can show.
great.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.